Ladies and gentlemen, we have an absolute banger today, okay? We have Harry, we have Piers Morgan, and we have my guy, Tyrus, all right? And look, I'm just going to be honest with you. Tyrus definitely rips him a new one. I mean, he makes a lot of really good points, and I don't know. I don't think Harry had two legs to stand on. I could be wrong, but hey, we're getting right into it. Without further ado, let's rock!
Well, joining me now is the former professional wrestler and Fox News contributor Tyrus and TikTok influencer Harry Sisson. Well, welcome to both of you. Harry, I want to start by playing a little clip of you last time you appeared on my show. Who do you think the two nominees will be in the end, and who will win?
Yeah, it's going to be Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, and then Joe Biden's going to win. And Piers, I'd love to chat with you after the election.
You've made a few dollars, Harry, so why don't we have a little wager? $10,000 to a charity of your choice. I say Biden can't possibly win. You think he can?
I mean, I personally don't bet on politics. I'm happy to have another bet to do something with
Right.
Put your money where your mouth is on Biden, then.
I don't bet on politics.
Well, I saved you $10,000 there, Harry, with your refusal to accept the bet, obviously. Welcome to back to Uncensored. I mean, you were completely wrong. Not only did Biden not stay in the race, but he certainly won't be president again. So do you accept you were completely wrong?
Yeah, I think I was going based off of publicly available information. All of the information available was that Joe Biden was staying in. He consistently told reporters he was staying in. He said, I'm the guy. And then he huddled with advisors in Delaware, saw the data, said it wasn't looking good, and made the honorable decision to bow out.
But with respect, why would a young, dynamic guy like you, how old are you?
21.
You're 21, so you're 60 years younger than Joe Biden.
That's right.
Right, it was blatantly obvious to everybody that Biden was done, especially after the debate. Why would you continue to pretend that he wasn't?
Because I look at the record, I'm always of the view that achievements and policy matters more than like this talk we have in the media of, oh, Biden's this, oh, Biden's that. I've met the man as well. I've talked to him. He was fantastic. He was sharp. I had questions.
When was that?
That was in May.
He was sharp?
Yeah.
How sharp?
Very sharp. He answered
it was around that time he was
full.
falling off stages, he was face planting, he was tumbling
face planting. I mean,
tumbling down the steps of Air Force One, falling off bicycles. He was saying all sorts of gobbledygook in statements which the White House had to rewind. So how sharp was he?
I mean, he was great. I gave him questions he didn't have beforehand. He answered them in depth, and we had a conversation after the cameras were turned off. I had no problems then. I had no problems now. I still think Joe Biden is fit to serve. If he were the candidate, I'd still think he's fit to serve.
Whoa, bro, are you good? He is not fit to serve. Even the Democrats say that he's not fit to serve. His own party, forget the right, his own party says he's not fit to serve. Wow, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, Tyrus, Joe Biden is still fit to serve. I mean, the guy I watched last night doing this national address, I'm sorry, I thought it was really sad. It was elder abuse.
I think at this point, we're arguing about the wrong thing. Whether he's fit to serve or not fit to serve, history was made in the sense that the donors basically said no more money.
Right.
And they don't do that because they think, oh, the polling shows you're down this month. So the ugliness of this is that Joe Biden's legacy is going to be affected because of what happened. The policies and stuff that we're running historically didn't ever fit Joe, which people raise their eyebrows to. And then you're seeing all this cover up of how sharp he was, and that's a interesting word because it's used a lot. And I always find when different people all use the same word, it's a talking point. And that's the problem. We need to get away from talking points. I'm glad that he stepped down because I took no joy in criticizing speeches from somebody who was doing the best they could. And he probably has moments where he's brilliant, but that's the ugliness of aging that one day everything's going great.
Yeah.
And it's happened to us all. Like one day, like wrestling, I'm throwing guys around, and one day I'm a step slow. It happens. And you'll have good days and you have bad days. And that's great in any other profession but being the president of the United States and basically the policeman of the world.
You know, what I was struck by Harry last night was he kept talking about, the threat to democracy and the importance of honesty and integrity in public life and so on. But then he said this about passing the torch. Let's listen to this clip.
I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. It's the best way to unite our nation.
No, I'm sorry, Harry. That was just a blatant lie. He didn't decide it was time to pass the torch only the day before he quit. He was absolutely gung-ho. I'm going to be running. I'm going to be president. I'm going to win 4 more years, blah, 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 blah. Even in the speech last night, he said he thinks he still has it.
Yeah, but I'm going to be honest, Piers. Of course, Biden will never say, hey, guys, yeah, so, I was lying. I'm not fit to run and my back hurts. My ankles hurt because I'm, freaking 80 years old. And, I'm just, I was lying. I actually am not fit to run. That's never going to happen. Right. So I'm not even upset that, what he said, because I already know he wasn't going to admit it. Right. Come on, stop it. Right. But yeah, back to the video. So I usually rarely disagree with Piers, but
in him to do another term of office. But that's not what happened. What happened was the Democrat grandees, Barack Obama, the Clintons, Chuck Schumer, Hollywood stars like George Clooney penning op-ed pieces in newspapers and so on, they all collaborated with the donors, as Tyrus said, who yanked the money, to torch him. He was torched by his own side. That's what happened, isn't it?
I mean, I think it's a combination of things. I think that there was obviously concern among party elites, you might call them. I don't know if that's the word.
But well, there was a concern. There was a poll came out on Sunday morning saying he was 7 points down in Michigan.
Right.
As Frank Luntz said, one of the 3 crucial swing states. And at that point, bang, the rope was pulled, right?
But it's also it was also his decision. He could have stayed in the race and said, like, I'm the nominee. I got the votes. I won the primary. I'm going to get the delegates. I'm going to be the nominee. But he looked at the data and made the honorable decision, said, no, I'm not going to.
But is he that honorable to do it now? I mean,
That sounds great, but let's be honest. Nancy Pelosi walked in and said, we can do it.
The easy way or the hard way?
The hard way was Article 25.
You know what it was like? Goodfellas, one of my favourite films, right? And I happen to know Joe Pesci very well through golf. So it's the scene where Joe Pesci thinks he's going to be the made man.
Yes.
Right? And the whole build-up, goes thing, and he goes in and they whack him, right? I think that's what happened with Joe Biden on Sunday.
I think to say that it's like, oh, it's not honorable because it's taking place now, I think is a little bit disingenuous.
Well, I only say that because the other 2 Democrat incumbent presidents since World War II who have resigned in election year and decided not to vote did it massively earlier in the process, did it at the start of the year, which gave their replacement the chance to really build proper momentum. By giving Kamala Harris only 4 months, it could end up being, we don't know yet, and she might well turn it around and she might win. So let's put that caveat there. But if she was to lose quite badly, you could look back at it and say that had he pulled out a lot earlier, it would have given her a better chance.
But I think we can both agree that the political circumstances back then with like a Lyndon Johnson was different than now, right? The reason it's happening now...
Well, not really. In his case, it was the Vietnam War had made him very unpopular, so they thought he would lose. Right here, Joe Biden's physical and cognitive state made him increasingly unpopular. And despite all the achievements that people like you queue up to tell us he made, and I'm not disputing some of them are genuine achievements, but his approval rating's at 37%. I keep hearing this week, he's the greatest president of modern times. Why is he so unpopular then? Why is people not just literally, why are there not parades in the streets for the greatest president of all time? Well, it's 37% approval.
We know the reason. Historically, the American people will blame the commander-in-chief for things that are often out of their control. So inflation and gas prices, I think anybody who's honest will recognize that Joe Biden obviously didn't cause those things, that those things are global factors. Inflation spiked in Great Britain at the same time.
Donald Trump didn't cause all the financial problems in his final year, but it was the pandemic.
I agree, and I wouldn't blame him for that.
Democrats, Tyrus, from memory, queued up to blame him.
The first day he got in office and shut down the oil pipe, he hit the green light for Russia and China. He changed the dynamic of the oil. When he who controls the oil controls the way things go. So he made a lot of, but again, I don't believe that these policies were Joe Biden's. I believe that the real issue is that whether it was Kamala Harris or whomever made decisions and the president wasn't unable to. And we saw that. The debate is the reason why he's out. They pulled the money and they said enough. Here's the part. Barack Obama, he is a constitutionalist to the 10th power. Like so he won't endorse. And I don't think his endorsement is based off, he doesn't think she can win, like those reports are. I think he doesn't like the way the process was. I think we're seeing a split.
There are reports today. So just before we came on air,
there's 2 reports, and you can have the same thought on the same thing. He can say he doesn't think she could win, and he can also endorse her.
Yeah, I think he will endorse. I mean, the idea that Barack Obama is not going to endorse
that speaks volumes.
A black woman
who is
the nominee.
But in defense of him, I think he's looking at, he doesn't like the process. I think he wanted an open debate.
And would that have been better for the Democrats, do you think?
I think it would have been better in terms of showing Kamala doing her own thing. because the Republican side, we've made huge mistakes, and I thought it wasn't possible. I thought, after the assassination attempt, after the speech, but literally the VP pick didn't help. Talking about her as a woman, whether she has children or not, moronic and stupid. I don't know why the Republican Party politicians seem to think
And that's one thing I will come out and say, yes, both parties are not perfect. 1,000%. 1,000%. I don't care what side you're on, but for the most part, I mean, the level and the amount of mistakes that the left showed was like not even close. Like it's astronomical in terms of, comparing it to the right? So yeah, I understand what Tyrus is saying here, 1,000%. Let me know if you agree. Back to the video.
the answer to getting votes is telling women what and not to do with their body. That's stupid. Like we had a 40-point lead.
Hang on, you're agreeing with each other.
I'm agreeing with what you're saying right now.
It's not hard. Like, listen, I'm not a tent guy. I'm too big for that shit. You know that. So I call balls and strikes, and we were sitting in a great position, and now no one's going to talk about the fact that Biden's policies weren't his, or investigating who was doing what and what was Jill's role and who's this role. Now we're going to be talking about Trump insulting a woman.
Yeah.
So you literally, all the work, we've got this huge lead. And if we just stuck to policy and deeds and let them call him a felon, and because Americans, when they call him that, they respond with what? They send more money.
I agree.
Insult the person.
There's a new campaign ad out on behalf of Kamala Harris. Let's take a look at this.
In this election, we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? There are some people who think we should be a country of chaos, of fear, of hate. But us, we choose something different. We choose freedom.
Don't like her, agree with her, don't agree with her. There's unbelievable amount of new energy in this Democrat side of the race because she is 20 years younger than Biden, obviously on her game. She's smart, she's presentable, she's good on TV, she's galvanizing people, the money's pouring in and so on. Do you believe, though, that once that honeymoon period inevitably quietens down and there's a more forensic analysis of her record, do you worry that she is too far left in her record to actually avoid Trump stomping all over her politically?
Not at all. I think that the idea that she's just like this progressive liberal who only sides with progressives and doesn't reach across the aisle is nonsense. I mean, she's been part of the Biden administration.
She was rated more left than Bernie Sanders.
I mean, I think that if we actually look at the policy on an individual level, that's not the case. Bernie Sanders is like for Medicare for all. Kamala Harris has never endorsed such system. So I think we actually have to look at the policy, and that tells a different story. But her record is certainly not a progressive one in the sense that it's like a Bernie Sanders kind of policy. She was a district attorney, a prosecutor. She sent people to jail. She's definitionally in favor of the rule of law.
She also wanted to defund the police. That's not great.
She's never come out and said, let's defund the police.
She effectively did.
Well, effectively and saying are two different things.
Okay, I mean, look, the other thing she was clearly billed as the immigration border czar,
Right, well,
Tyrus, which they're now trying to deny ever calling her, but it's a brilliant thing. I saw, I think it was Newsbusters did it.
Yeah, so just real quick, of course, the election is over. This is an older clip, right? But looking back, and I say this all the time, and they're not talking about it, and I was waiting for them to talk about it, which it is what it is, right? I just think that the media has changed a bit, and how people consume content has changed. They're talking about policies, they're talking about this, they're talking about that. Yeah, all that is important, but like the root of it is, how are people consuming that? Most people don't know every single policy. Let's just be honest. Let's just keep it G. Let's be honest. Most people don't know every single policy, right? So how are they consuming the content? Well, these days it's on this platform, right? And I say this all the time. At this point, I feel like a broken record, right? Talk about it all the time in terms of, how people are doing that. And I mean, there were times where I remember being on PBD. I remember he used to think this was maybe 2 years ago or 2 or 3 years ago. Like at the most I've seen him get is like 30,000 or 20,000 live viewers. When this election was going on, my guy had, I think at one point, the most I seen was like 200,000 people live. Like that's a big difference, right? So like, I just think people have chosen to not be berated and bombarded with all the cable news stations and stuff like that that's pushing a certain agenda. And I think people are saying, you know what, we're going to make our own decision. We're going to watch whatever we want to watch and have the YouTube serve us what we want to watch, right? Because again, all of this stuff is important that they're talking about, but you have to be able to know what's going on. You have to be able to consume the content. That's the core of it that nobody talks about, that I'm going to talk about, because I keep it real, right? But yeah, guys, I'm going to end it here. Let me know what you think about Tyrus's point. Do you agree with him? Do you agree with Piers? And yeah, guys, get in the comment section. I get active in those comments. Make sure you kick the subscribe button and slap the like button for more. Until next time,